So, as promised, I'm going to do a quick review of one of my favourite books, The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. So this edition is published by Penguin. It was published in 2014. And what's it about? Well, the subtitle, Mind, Brain and Body in the Transformation of Trauma, gives you a good idea that this book does indeed look at trauma, both PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is also referred to as developmental trauma. It is trauma that happens over an extended period of time, usually to people in childhood, to children. So he covers the waves of interest in the mind-body, body-mind connection, and the waxing and waning of interest in the role of the subconscious mind. Over the last 150 years in particular, we see that this has come in waves really, where there has been a surge in interest in the subconscious mind and the mind-body connection, and then there has been more of a focus on medication to treat the body and the physiological responses of the body to stress and trauma. It's a really interesting book. There are lots of case studies, and Bessel is not afraid of experimenting on himself, trying out different approaches that are available, some of them not mainstream at all, to experience them from the inside out. The highlights of the book, there really is so much stuff in this book, which is why I've read it twice and have listened to the audiobook, and it's impossible to retain everything that's in there. But one really interesting aspect is his description of the battle of the old guard psychiatrists and the new wave of psychologists and practitioners who are really desperate and have been desperate to acknowledge the existence of developmental trauma, which has been denied in many quarters. And so a lot of people who suffered particularly childhood trauma have been ignored for decades, and the consequences have come out in later life, in adulthood, and have led to all sorts of problems because people have not been heard, they haven't been understood, and they haven't consequently been offered any help. So there are great descriptions of stress impacting on the brain, so we really can understand how that happens and how trauma and stress translate into changes in the brain and subsequently changes in the body. He has an in-depth look at treatments for trauma. Some of them are quite mainstream now, at least. Some are more marginal, and just some of the treatments he looks at are EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, internal family systems, yoga, neurofeedback, theatre therapy, but there are other things as well in there. So this book is written in depth. There are a lot of pages, and as you can see, the type is quite dense. It's not a light, easy read, and without the notes at the back, I made a note, there are 358 pages. So it's not a quick, it's not an easy read, but it is a really, really fascinating read, and is ideal for anybody who has a special interest in trauma. And you may be a therapist, you may be considering becoming a therapist, you may be a student of medicine or psychology. You might have experienced trauma in your life and want to understand this better. So as long as you're prepared for the fact that it's not a standard self-help book, it's not a light read, it can be really, really useful to many people. So yeah, I highly recommend it. I love this book. I have a lot of respect for all the work that Bessel van der Kolk, I got his name right this time, has done, and highly recommend it. So I will put links in the description or in the comments below if anyone is interested in getting hold of this book or the audiobook. Bye for now.